I don't even know how to start this. I've rewritten this in a longer, more dramatic Reddit-style version with deeper emotional buildup, internal conflict, and more tension without changing the core events. I'm 32F, married to my husband Daniel, 35M, for 8 years. We have 2 kids, 5 and 2, and from the outside, I guess we look like a stable, normal family. The kind people don't question. The kind that looks fine on paper. But the truth is, I've been living in a strange emotional emptiness for a while now, and I didn't even fully admit it to myself until recently. It didn't happen overnight. There was no single moment where everything broke. It was more like a slow erosion. Small things first, conversations that used to feel easy became short and transactional. We stopped talking about anything meaningful beyond schedules, bills, and kids. Intimacy faded quietly, almost without either of us addressing it. And at some point, I realized I couldn't remember the last time Daniel actually looked at me the way he used to. Like I was someone he wanted, not just someone who was there. I told myself it was just life, stress, kids, work, that this is what long-term marriage looks like. That love just changes shape. Then Alex joined my workplace a few months ago. First, he was just there. Nothing dramatic. Friendly conversations. Casual jokes during breaks. A few messages about work stuff that slowly turned into slightly longer conversations. Then inside jokes. Then messages that didn't really need to be about work at all. I noticed it, but I didn't take it seriously. I told myself I was overthinking it. I love my husband, I thought. I'm not that person. But something about the attention felt different. Not loud or aggressive, just present. Like someone actually saw me again. And I didn't realize how much I had been missing that. I started comparing, even though I hated myself for it. Daniel was tired most of the time, distracted, emotionally absent in ways I tried not to take personally. Alex, on the other hand, asked questions, listened, remembered small things I said in passing. It wasn't even romantic at first, just human connection that felt easy. I kept telling myself nothing would happen. Then one night, after a particularly stressful day, a group from work went out for drinks. I almost didn't go. I should have gone home. I should have been with my family. But I didn't. At some point, it was just Alex and me left at the bar. Conversations got deeper, more personal. Things I never would have said in the daylight suddenly felt easy to say under dim lights and alcohol. I remember laughing more that night than I had in a long time, and that realization should have been my warning sign. We went back to his place. I won't go into details, but I knew even in the moment that I was crossing a line I could never uncross. And the worst part wasn't even what happened. It was how alive I felt. Like something inside me had been asleep for years and suddenly woke up. Briefly, dangerously, and completely out of control. The second I left his place, reality hit me like a wave. On the drive home, I couldn't breathe properly. My hands were shaking on the steering wheel. I kept thinking about Daniel, about my kids, about the version of myself I had just destroyed in one night. I remember sitting in the car outside our house for almost 10 minutes, unable to go inside because I knew everything had changed, even if nothing had been said yet. But I did go in, and I acted normal. That's the part that scares me the most when I think about it. How easily I can pretend everything is fine while carrying something like that inside me. I haven't told Daniel. Not because I don't think he deserves the truth, he does, but because I don't know what the truth would even do at this point. Part of me wants to confess just to get rid of the weight in my chest. Another part of me is terrified that once I say it out loud, there's no coming back from it. And the most confusing part is that I don't even fully understand what this means. Do I love my husband? Yes, I do. That hasn't disappeared. But I also can't ignore the fact that I felt something with Alex that I haven't felt in years. Desire, attention, excitement, being seen as a woman again instead of just a mother or a co-parent. And now I'm stuck in this horrible space in between guilt, confusion, and silence, trying to understand whether I destroyed my marriage or whether it was already breaking before I ever stepped outside of it. I don't know what I'm going to do next. Update 1. Thank you to everyone who responded to my first post. I honestly didn't expect it to blow up like this, or for so many strangers to give such different, intense perspectives. I've read every comment more than once. Some made me defensive, some made me cry, and some made me sit in silence longer than I'm comfortable admitting. Since posting, nothing external has really changed, but internally, everything feels louder. I still haven't told Daniel, and I keep going back and forth in my head about whether I ever will, or whether I've already crossed a point where saying it out loud would just destroy everything without fixing anything. Every time I imagine telling him, it plays out the same way. His expression shifting in real time, confusion first, then disbelief, then something heavier. Hurt, that quiet kind of pain that doesn't explode, it just settles in and changes a person. I know him well enough to know he wouldn't yell, and somehow that makes it worse, because I think silence would be his reaction. And I don't know if I could survive seeing that directed at me, so I stay quiet. But silence doesn't make it disappear. It just turns into something I carry everywhere. Alex has reached out again, more than once. Casual messages at first, then more direct. Asking to meet, just talk. No pressure, no expectations, at least on the surface. I told myself I would ignore it. I really tried. But the truth I don't want to admit too loudly is that part of me wanted to say yes. Not because I'm choosing him. Not because I've made any decision. But because something about that connection feels like a contrast to everything else in my life. It's not stable. It's not safe. It's not built on years of responsibility and routine. It's unpredictable. And I think that's exactly why it feels so intense. It scares me how easily my mind drifts toward it when I'm doing normal things. Folding laundry, making dinner, sitting in silence after the kids fall asleep. It's like there's another version of me existing in parallel, one that only shows up when I allow myself to think about him. And then I hate myself for it, because I keep telling myself I'm not leaving my husband. I'm not planning to destroy my family. I'm not making some dramatic exit from my life. And yet I also can't ignore that something inside me shifted. Something that makes my current life feel different now that I've seen what it felt like to be wanted like that again. Daniel and we're not terrible. That's the hardest part to explain. We don't scream at each other. We don't insult each other. There's no obvious collapse. We function. We co-parent. We handle life. But emotionally, it feels like we've been slowly fading into separate rooms of the same house for a long time without ever naming it. Most of our conversations are logistical now. Kids, bills, schedules, chores. The emotional part, the part where you feel like you're actually seen, it's been missing for longer than I want to admit. And I think that's what I've been starving for without realizing it. To be looked at again. Not as mom, not as wife, not as someone managing a household, but as a woman. Someone desired, someone chosen, someone noticed. I hate how much that matters to me right now, because it makes everything feel unstable in a way I don't know how to fix. So now I feel stuck in this uncomfortable space where I'm not fully in my marriage the way I used to be emotionally, but I'm also not willing to destroy it. I'm suspended somewhere between guilt and curiosity, responsibility and impulse, history and something I can't properly define. And I keep asking myself the same question over and over, even though I don't have an answer yet. Is this something broken in me? Or something that was already broken in us before any of this ever started? Update 2. I need to admit something else, and writing it out feels harder than I expected. Yesterday, Daniel reached for my hand while we were putting the kids to bed. It was such a small, normal gesture, the kind of thing that used to happen without me even thinking about it. I would have squeezed his hand back automatically, maybe leaned into him a little, maybe even smiled. But this time, I didn't feel anything. No warmth, no connection, no emotional reaction at all. Just this strange, hollow emptiness, like I was observing the moment from a distance instead of being part of it. And that scared me more than I want to admit, because now I don't know what caused it. Is it the affair and the guilt that comes with it? Or is it something deeper? Something that was already gone long before Alex ever entered the picture? I keep going back to that question, and I hate that I don't have a clear answer. The truth is, I've been questioning my marriage for a while now, even before all of this. Not in some dramatic, obvious way. More like a slow accumulation of small emotional absences. Conversations that don't really connect. Moments that feel routine instead of meaningful. A relationship that functions but doesn't really breathe anymore. And now I'm stuck wondering if the affair didn't create the crack, but simply exposed it. That thought is both relieving and terrifying at the same time. Relieving, because it lets me believe I'm not just a bad person who ruined everything out of nowhere. Terrifying, because it means something fundamental between Daniel and me might have already been lost long before I even realized it. I feel pulled in every direction at once. Guilt, because I know what I did was wrong. Shame, because I still think about Alex even when I tell myself not to. Confusion, because I can't tell what part of my emotions are real and what part are just consequences. And underneath all of it, this quiet exhaustion I can't shake anymore, like I'm mentally running out of space to hold all of this. I finally started therapy this week. I didn't tell Daniel about that either. It felt like the first honest step I've taken in a while, even if I still feel like I'm hiding the biggest part of my situation. My therapist asked me a simple question. Why haven't I told my husband yet? And I didn't have a clean answer. At first, I said it was because I was afraid of hurting him. That's true, but it's not the full truth. Then I said I was afraid of losing my family. Also true, but still not complete. But the part one couldn't say out loud immediately. The part that stayed stuck in my throat is that I'm afraid telling him will force me to face something I've been avoiding, that I might not love him the way I used to anymore. And once that's out in the open, there's no going back to pretending everything is fine. That realization has been sitting with me since the session ended. I don't know what I'm going to do next. I don't know if I'm about to destroy my marriage, try to fix it, or discover that it was already ending long before I started asking these questions. All I know is that I can't keep living in this in-between state forever. Something is going to break, or change, or end, and I just don't know which one yet. Update 3. Work has become increasingly difficult. Alex and I avoid direct conversations now, but the tension is still there. Unspoken. Constant. I feel like I'm walking through my days holding my breath. At home, I try to act normal. I laugh with the kids, I talk with Daniel about routine things, I function like everything is fine. But inside, I feel disconnected from all of it. Last night, I looked through our old wedding photos. I remember how certain I felt back then. How I believed this was my forever. It's strange looking at those images now. They feel like they belong to someone else. Not a lie, but not the full truth either. I don't know how we got here. Or maybe I do and I just refuse to see it. Final update. I still haven't told Daniel. Some nights I think I should. That honesty, no matter how destructive, is the only way forward. Other nights I'm convinced that telling him would just transfer my guilt onto him and destroy everything in the process. I don't know what's worse. Alex is still in my life, though I've kept distance. But the temptation hasn't disappeared. It lingers in the background like a possibility I can't fully erase. And my marriage, I don't even know what to call it anymore. Love? Habit? Family? History? Maybe all of it. Maybe none of it. So I'm here, stuck between guilt and desire, fear and uncertainty, trying to figure out whether I ruined my life or just finally saw it clearly. I don't have an answer. I don't even know if there is one. I just know I needed to say it somewhere. So, Reddit, what would you do if you were me?